your host, Dee Dee, and we're so excited to welcome you to our next episode.
Hey, can you see me? Can you hear me? Okay, let me. I am good. Let me try to get this figured out. 'Cause I had it, and then everybody started calling me, and it. I am not. I am not techie, so I had it all set up too. So Lord have mercy. Okay, I think there we go. All right, here we go. It is good to see you too. Right. Oh, yeah. But I think more like 31. I left ORU in 95. And so, yeah, like 30, 31. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Real amigo. Yeah, glad to be here. So glad to be here. So honored that you asked. Yeah, well, who is Brian Simpson? That's something that I could go on for a long time, but I guess the abbreviated version is Brian Simpson is a husband, Brian is a father, Brian is an author, and grew up in a military home. By the time I was 16, I had lived in Florida, which is my home state, North Carolina, California, and Virginia. So I had seen a lot by that time, had been a lot of places, seen a lot of places, and been exposed to a lot of different things. So Brian is a person that has kind of taken a little bit from here, a little bit from there, and has allowed it to shape him in the best way that he could.
Wow. Wow. That's amazing. So, because when you said to me, when I emailed you, I'm thinking you're still over by, like, just say over by Oklahoma or either by Virginia. And I was thinking that the East Coast the whole time. And until you told me Pacific, I was like, dude,
Right.
where did you go this time? So
Like
I was
Tupac,
like,
I get around. Not get
yes.
around that way, but get
Yeah.
around.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, and I know you move according to what you have to do, and I get that. So
Hmm.
I get that. And also you know, let's just go on into the story or into the question, should I say, because I did say Brian has a story to tell. And
Hmm.
in life, what were some of your most challenging obstacles? But now you look back and you see how strong you are, by basically by overcoming these obstacles. What is something?
That would, and me, Dee Dee, like you said, we like brother and sister, and so that the biggest challenge that I faced in my life was the untimely passing of my late wife, Rasha. God rest her soul.
Yeah.
We were married for 26 years. You remember, you were there when we started dating, And so we've been together pretty much ever since then. Back at ORU,
Wow.
and she got sick. She got cancer, and it really uh, wasn't the cancer that ultimately um, made her pass away. It was the chemotherapy treatment. It was a little too rough. You remember Rasha was very much into health and wellness, so her getting sick was a huge shock for all
Wow.
of us because she was very much in there. But there was a lot of stress and a lot of things that were going on in her life, and it caused that for her. So um, the guilt that I dealt with from her passing, as her husband, for some odd reason, I felt as though it was somehow my fault that I didn't protect her from that. And just all of the emotions and just literally one day her being here and the next she's gone and there's nothing I can do about it. That was a
Wow.
huge challenge to overcome. I did
Mhm.
not know that level of pain existed. It was hard, but the Lord said he would never leave us nor forsake us.
Right.
And if there were ever a time that I saw that in my life about the Lord, it was then. It was then. And you know, and I know there were a lot of people that had a lot of issues with his theology. But I remember when I attended Higher Dimensions Church back in the day, Carlton Pearson used to say something. And he said, when you can't see God's hand, you have to trust his heart.
Mhm.
And I remember literally after she was a couple of days after she had passed, literally collapsing to my knees in my living room and saying, God, I can't see your hand. So I need your
Mhm.
heart right now. And that was literally when my family from ORU began to reach out. You know, people were calling me every day, text messages from yourself. Those things really, really carried me through. God really used those to lift me up and to, square my shoulders again and really just help me to move forward through life.
Jesus.
So if there were ever a challenging time, it was that for sure.
Wow. Wow. And my condolences, even though, you know, that has happened and it's already, occurred and everything. It's just that some wounds are still kind of fresh for certain people that are
Right.
even maybe viewing the show, because it's like, okay, well, I'm battling this. I know of a loved one that is experiencing their child, battling,
Mm,
cancer and so forth. So
mm,
once again,
yeah.
with your story to tell in this platform, I pray that someone's encouraged that you may not see God's hand, like, I mean, yeah, in the midst of everything, but God, where's your heart right now? Because
Right.
I can't think, I can't, it's like your senses go numb.
Mm,
Who's there? And I have not experienced or encountered that, but I can only imagine, because
mm.
everybody has their own story, right? For the most part. And it's a major, major challenge. But um when did you realize that you can love again even after that? Because I know you said that you're a husband, a father, and so forth. So are you, tell us more about that part. When did you feel like, okay, let me move forward now?
Right. Right. Yeah, that as far as when, it's not like there was like a designated time
Hmm.
that I was like, okay, I'm ready to move over. It just kind of happened.
Okay.
And but I can tell you this,
Okay.
that it happened when I was content being by myself.
Yes.
Being with somebody for 26 years and then suddenly they're gone, I had a lot of time to reckon with Brian.
That's good.
And when I was comfortable being with Brian, then I was like, well, I really feel as though I could move forward. in life. I always say move forward in life because there's no moving on. There are, even
Okay.
though that's been 5 years ago,
Okay.
I don't think a day has gone by that I have not thought about Rasha in some way, shape, or
Mm,
form.
mm.
You look at your son, look at my sons. They look a lot
Right.
like their dad, but
Hmm.
they look a lot like their mom too. So there's times that they'll say something or we'll reminisce over something that she did or said. So there's not a day that goes by that I don't think about her, and that sometimes the pain of how she left
Yeah.
does not hit. But
Yeah.
when I was comfortable being alone and by myself and just in the house by myself, and I could function on my own and things like that, then I said, yeah, I could see someone coming along and filling that slot again,
Hmm.
and that's what eventually happened, you know, with
Gotcha.
my wife Stacy, and I always we Stacy and I laugh now because I always say, well, she came out of left field because I really wasn't. I was just kind of going along throughout life, and there she came.
Right. And she's a gorgeous lady too, and a beautiful, beautiful. I know she's a beautiful soul because my brother don't marry no anybody, But
No, 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 no.
no, and when I say that, I know that Stacy, y'all are an amazing couple, moving forward,
Thank you.
as you said, and blessings and shout out to Stacy. I know you might be watching this, Stacy, so no, but no, shout out to you because I mean to be able to, I say, gird up somebody. Y'all build each other up because there, like you said, there are those moments that you might have a reminiscing moment. And what if you're weak? You do need that strength right there. So I give hats off to Stacy, and I shout out to her and also to your handsome sons. And I think one just graduated college or
Yeah,
something.
yeah, Jalen. He is.
Congratulations.
Yeah, he's. Thank you. He's my youngest biological son, but I have another youngest son now, Donovan Stacy's son. He's in college. He's in his sophomore year of college. But Jalen just graduated Oklahoma State University with
Wow.
a degree in architectural design.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, he's
Congrats.
smart and just such a just a joy.
Mhm.
Jalen is. He's very determined. He's that one. He sets his mind to do something. He's going to do it. And
Wow.
he it was watching him graduate is interesting because he's that one that child that when you told him to do something, he listened and did it. And I
Mm,
remember telling him, if you don't know exactly what you want to study coming out of high school, don't just go straight into college and just get a degree in something that you don't like. Take your time.
mm,
So
mhm,
he did that and
mhm.
got an associate's degree. And then that's when he decided, okay, yeah, I want to do architectural design. And
Wow.
so that was a very demanding degree. The That's usually like a 5 to 6 year program. And
Mhm.
so he finished it. He got an honor at Oklahoma State. He was in their top 1% of his graduating class. So
Wow.
yeah, so I was
Congratulations.
beaming. Yeah, he definitely went to college and actually did his work better than his dad did.
Oh, wow,
So
wow. Well, I can't, you know what? We had such a good time at Oral Roberts
we
University.
did.
I enjoyed, I was like, I was so mad at God. I ain't gonna even lie. I was mad
Right.
because I wanted to come back because I think I saw y'all because the last time I saw you was during that summer. And
Mm-hmm.
few of us stayed during the summertime of
Mm-hmm.
95. And then
Mm-hmm.
when school started, that's when I ended up going back to Louisiana. And I was like, I was mad. I didn't want to
Right.
go back. I
Right.
was like, I need to get back with my friends. I had a good time.
Right.
But
We
I
did.
didn't say study, but
Right.
but
Oh man.
I
Look,
I mean,
I tell people with my college story, it's an interesting one because I went to ORU 4 years, ran track there, and class was like optional for me. you know, I
don't tell
if I
nobody.
felt like Look, if I'm gonna tell it like Usher said, if I'm gonna tell it, I'm gonna tell it all.
Right. Right.
You know, yeah. When I went through those 4 years at ORU, I my parents still laugh about me. So when I went back to school
Mm.
and did eventually finish my bachelor's degree and ultimately went on and got my master's, I buckled down. But I was an adult and working and knew the focus, knew the importance of it. But those
Right.
4 years at ORU were some of the best of my life. And it was more so, I
Absolutely.
did learn in class, but it was more so the people that I met, people that are lifelong friends like
Abs-
yourself to this day. And a lot of those people, when my first wife passed, when Rasha passed, those were people that it didn't matter we hadn't hung out and we hadn't seen each other in decades. Those they were calling. I mean, you
mm,
remember Manuelo and Greg
mhm,
Ross? They were calling me every day. Oral
mm.
Austin. These were people that were checking on me every single day. And
Wow.
so I like you. When I left ORU, I was mad, just because of some of the negative experiences at ORU that a lot of us as students of color experience, and that's a story for another day. But
Yeah.
I was so glad that I had gone there because I don't think that I would have had that type of support from had I gone to school anywhere else.
Wow.
So
Wow.
yeah, so it served its purpose for sure.
Absolutely. And most of my guests were and are, or are you
Right.
have Darius, I had,
Nice.
Joanne,
Yeah.
so many. And I honestly did not know that you knew what is that? The Tisdale family.
Yeah.
Rodney
Rodney,
Tisdale.
that's my dude.
Yeah, yeah.
Rodney was another one. Rodney came the day after Rasha passed. Rodney came to my condo building. And we sat
Mm,
2 hours, and Rodney just was just there. Rodney and I worked together, so that's how we
okay.
knew each other. Yeah,
Wow.
great dude.
Small
That's my
world.
man. Yeah.
That's my cousin. So yeah.
Yep.
I was like, wow. And so I didn't even know I had family that way, but that's a whole, like you said, a different story
Right.
for another day. But in so many instances with what's going on with the transition, like you said, from you being
Mhm.
an athlete and then your son's making the
Mhm.
choices of, being an architect, and everybody's still cultivating life. And that's such
Right.
a joy that everybody is still healing. And of course, remembering Rasha, from a positive perspective, but also continuing on living life and cultivating what, like you said, you're grabbing pieces from over here, from over there as you've moved on. And I believe you were a coach as well, you said.
Mhm.
Or okay.
Yeah.
So with all these things under your belt, it cultivates our character even,
Right.
and I want to shout this out to you. And I don't know if you remember this, but I said, when I get a chance to get a hold of Brian, which I did today, I said, I'm going to tell everybody that if you watch Bishop G.E. Patterson's show when Bishop G.E. Patterson was alive, this
Mhm.
man right here, I'm talking about you, Brian, you put me up on you were the usher during that service, and you moved me because I came by myself. So, when there's only one seat, it's like, oh, there's a space
Mhm.
right there. You threw me in the seat, and just so happened the word was getting so good. So I stood up and clapped my hands. And from what is that, 95 to 2000,
Uh
that
huh.
clip has gone nationwide during the time that he was, his ministry was
Wow.
on television. I said, it's all Brian's fault. It is all Brian's fault.
I think that like word explosion or Azusa, one of them.
It was, I don't know what it was, but it wasn't like it wasn't Azusa. It was not Azusa. Because
I
during
think it was word
Azusa,
explosion.
I think it was the word explosion, because
Yeah.
Azusa, I sang in the choir,
Right.
baby, that's a whole different story. So, but I think it was the word explosion, and you were
Right.
working as the usher, and
Yeah.
I just came by myself. So there was one empty seat, and it was close by the front. And when I got up, I was like, Amen in the word, clapping my hands, and it was all your fault. You're the one that sent me up there. And
Hey,
so
I
when
thought
people,
I was like, that's my people coming down that need the seat. If there's an open one up front, I was gonna hook you up. I do remember that now.
as I was like, so one of my friends, after I left Oral Roberts, I went to Northwestern State University in Natchitoches, Louisiana. And one of my friends, part of the Church of God in Christ, and of course, Bishop Patterson is, a part of the Church of God in Christ ministry.
Hmm.
So when she met me, she recognized me from that clip. And I said, if once I get a hold of Brian, so this is my day. 30 years later, I'm going to let you know it's all your fault. But no,
That is
it was a
funny.
blessing. It was a blessing because the word, I mean, he preached. So I will say, it was the word explosion and those events that happen on that campus, like you said, those are precious memories that I
Hmm.
can even reflect back on. And so,
Right.
I was like, man. But
I think that
getting
was
back,
that giant kill. Was that giant killer message?
you know what? I forgot. To be honest with
I
you, it
think it
more
was.
than likely was because
I think it was.
it was so deep, and I was like, mm,
Yeah.
you had to stand up and hallelujah. So,
Right.
but anyways,
WGE. Yeah.
yeah, and it was a powerfully impact word at that time, and I was like, when somebody remembered seeing my face, and then she was telling other people, "Oh, that was her," and I was like, "I'm gonna get Brian. I am going to get Brian." So yeah, but getting back into the question, um,
Mhm.
can you share when did you realize that you can, um, being that you said that you're an author, when did it that you realize that you had a gift of writing?
Well, writing is something that I've done since I was young,
Mhm.
and like I'm talking elementary school age, and but I would always write stuff or conceptualize characters, and I would never say anything about it.
Okay.
My thoughts were, well, that I didn't think I was good enough. I didn't think I knew how to even do something like that. I would just write little short stories and then just put them somewhere.
Oh wow.
And I think the first time that I really saw something that I could write in a way that people wanted to listen or read it
Hmm.
was in the fourth grade. I remember back in the day in elementary school, they'd tell us to write a story and you have to get up and read it in front of
Hmm.
class.
Hmm.
Well, I wrote this story, and the subject was, what would you do if you were locked in your school overnight? So I wrote this very imaginative tale of,
Hmm.
being locked in the school and doing something mischievously vandalizing, in the school. Just nothing harmful or tearing the school apart, but just
Right.
goofy stuff.
Right.
Excuse me. And the class laughed and they were just cracking up at it. And so I remember the next semester she assigned the same assignment. And I remember when it was my turn to read, the students inched up in their seats and they put their hands on their desks like this
Wow.
and were waiting. And I was
Wow.
like, hmm. And I never forgot that. And as a matter of fact, I shouted out this a classmate that I had. She may or may not even remember me, but she sat next to me, this Vietnamese girl named Ha Tran.
Mm.
And she would tell me back then, you're gonna be a writer. You're gonna be a writer. And I'd be like, whatever. What's how
Mm.
this is just little goofy stories.
Right.
And so I shouted out in my first book, and I was like, "Hey, you made a good call on that one."
Wow.
So that's when I really saw that I could do something. And then as an adult, it was my uh, English teacher. That was
Mm.
actually one of the classes I used to actually attend routinely when we were at ORU.
Wow.
Was Dr. Myers, K. Myers,
Yes,
K.
indeed.
Myers, Dr.
Mm.
Myers. We had the same thing. We had to write a story, and I wrote this story. And
Mhm.
she was like, "Wow, this is very good. You should consider writing." But
Wow.
back then, I didn't know that you could. I didn't know how I should I say, could write as a profession.
Wow.
And so I just kind of stumbled into it. I was just kind of I'd always wanted to write a book. I'd always admired people who could sit down and just write an elaborate story.
Hmm.
And but I had never tried it. So I remember in 2019, just before the pandemic, I said, Lord, I'm not going to sit on any more God-given talents that you've given
Mm.
me. So I'm
Wow.
going to just figure it out. And that's what I did.
Mm.
And the way I figured it out, I was teaching at the time, and the school where I was teaching at, Kip Tulsa, the middle school, they had this program called DEAR, stands for Drop Everything and Read. And basically, where everybody in the school, teachers, principal, everybody would pick up a book and read for 20 minutes. So I picked
Mhm.
this book up by Sue Grafton called S is for Silence. And I remember reading it, and I'm like, I could do this. And
Mm.
so I literally started right then,
Wow.
that year.
Mm.
Started writing, and 5 months later, I had my first novel.
Wow. And how many books have you written since?
I've written, I've written three technically. I've published two. The
Okay.
first one I wrote was a theological book, but I didn't publish it.
Okay.
Um, but the series, I actually have them with me. The
Okay.
first one I wrote was Town Secrets.
Okay.
That one I wrote in 5 months, and its follow up is
Wow.
The Nightmare's Edge. And
Wow.
I'm finishing the. I'm probably about a week or two out from finishing the third in that series. So yeah, so I have
Dang.
two published, and soon to have three.
Wow, wow. And I would love if you don't mind sharing the title of your book and where we can,
Sure,
share the links and so forth with me so that I
sure.
can share it with on my YouTube platform because I do attach the
Mhm.
links so that the audience can have access for sure.
Yeah,
And I'm just
absolutely.
excited. And so I was about to ask you a question. I think you already answered it.
Uh-oh.
Um, um, so back in, you said in 2014 is when you decided, like, hey, I mean, 2019 is when you said, hey,
Hmm.
this is it, right?
Right.
So what would you, oh Lord, I'm so sorry. So when did you decide, and I'm so sorry about that. When
Oh
did
no.
you decide to, what is that? I'm sorry, that actually I was trying to hit my screen and it all of a sudden came on at the same time. Um, to a person that is interested in writing a book,
Hmm.
what advice would you give that person that is interested? Because there are many people. I know I'm an author, but
Hmm.
I've been told, like, hey, and I did like a 30-day devotional. I've known,
Hmm.
other people that, hey, I got a story to tell. I got a story to tell.
Right.
Well, what are you doing with, what are you doing with your gifts?
Right.
What are you doing to
Right.
what you call it? So, in so many words, talking to you directly as an author that has realized, okay, this is a gift and this is, not just confirmation from my classmate, but from my teacher. And
Hmm.
it's in you, and now you're birthing it out as you, like you said, birthing out, getting ready for your third series. What would you say to someone that is like, I want to write a book, but I know it's going to cost, or what do I do, or what are my first steps? They have random questions. What would you say?
I would say that if you want to write a book, I would say the first thing to do is know what you want to say. A lot of people, and when I say know what you want to say, I mean that a lot of people know that they have a story to tell or they have
Mhm,
an idea, but how do you want to convey that idea? Do you want to convey it in a novel form? Do you want to convey it in a just like an informational form? Know what you want to say and how you want to say it. And then I would say to find an author that you like and study how they did it. What
mhm,
about that author do you like? With Sue, I mentioned that book S is for Silence by Sue Grafton. It's a suspense thriller, and I love those kinds of stories. That's what I write.
mhm,
And I loved the way Sue Grafton visually painted a picture in your mind with words. And so that was one of the biggest compliments that I received when someone read my book and they said, "Wow, reading it, it's like I could visually picture where you are
Mm,
and or where the character main character is." And
right,
so
right.
study their style. Study
Hmm.
their style. It's just like painters. You know, certain painters will study a certain painter and they'll adopt some of their style, but then their own style gets, you know, put into it. And that's what'll happen when you look at an author that you like, you know, you'll adopt what they do, but then you will come out of it as well. So it'll become your style of writing. So know what you want to say, know how you want to say it, and study the person, study an author or two whose styles that you admire, and you know, adopt that into your own style of writing.
Okay.
And you'll learn when it comes down to publishing a book that the writing of a book is the easiest part. That's the easiest part of it.
Mm,
Study how you, after or while you're writing, know how you're going to market your book, because that's where the work comes in. The work is getting your book in front of eyes. So
mhm,
study how to do that.
mm. See, that part is what I have not done. I've always done word of mouth. I've done different things as well, and my book, of course, is called crystal clear because of it
Hmm.
being a 30-day devotion. And I'll probably share it with this platform since we're talking Arthur wise. But it's such a amazing thing that God has gifted you with such a gift. But I never thought of it from that perspective where you're trying to gain the wisdom and knowledge of others so that it'll graft, like you said, how you would present, your
Hmm.
book. So that's wisdom, wisdom. That's good wisdom, because I never have thought of it from that perspective, and I appreciate
Right.
that. So even for me,
You're
that's a learning experience for me, y'all. So yeah, but
welcome.
um, what da, 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 da. And I think yours, you said more suspense and more. It's kind of like going towards the fictional aspect, right?
Mhm.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay,
it's fiction, and the theme of my series is human trafficking. You know, because
okay.
that's what I wanted to bring attention to. That is an
Oh,
issue that, excuse me, is really plaguing the Black community, but a lot of people don't know that. It's
wow.
plaguing the Black community, the Brown community. A lot of people don't know that's going on, though. You know, and this is it's just the truth. You know, if a young, you know, white child goes missing, everyone's gonna know. You know, it's gonna be national news. But young Black girl goes missing, young Indigenous girl, young Latina girl goes missing. No one knows. You
That's
know,
true.
and what actually inspired me to write this series was when I was coaching. You mentioned that I was coaching for a while. I coached college track for about 7 years. And I
Okay.
was coaching at a school in Virginia, Eastern Mennonite University.
Mm,
And one of my, as a matter of fact, my first All American that I coached, Connor Faint, he and I were talking about it.
mhm.
And I remember hearing a statistic on the radio when we were driving down there to a track meet, rather. And it said that at the time there were 64,000 missing Black women in America, and no one was talking about it.
Wow.
Since that time, 8 years ago, that number has swelled to 105,000, and you still
Wow.
don't hear about it. So
Right. Right.
I remember conceptualizing the character, but I didn't know what conflict he would address.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
when I heard that statistic, I said, "Yeah, that's what my main character is. His name is Alex Archer." I was like, "That's what he's going to address." And so I've
Wow.
written the series to shine a light on the dangers of human trafficking that are plaguing communities of color in America.
Wow. And that's powerful. I did not know it was centered around that, you know. And I pray that this will encourage many, many more people to purchase and to not just have an idea from your perspective of what you've encountered, what you see, what we've heard, and stuff, but to take interest. I think
Right.
many people have taken interest. I believe there was the movie where I cannot pronounce the gentleman's name, but the gentleman played as Jesus in The Passion, but he also did
Yeah.
another movie. Do you remember the name of that movie where he
Yeah. That movie was called, I think it was Sound of Freedom,
yes, yes,
and
yes.
his name is Jim Caviezel.
Okay. Thank you so much
And
for saying the name
yeah,
for me because I'll butcher it.
yeah.
But yes, I my heart goes out because I'm a visual person. I
Mhm.
read, but not lately because of my schedule. Okay, so I'm
Right.
one of those that reading the Bible sometimes, but I'm listening, to the Bible
Right.
if that if
Right.
that
Right.
plays the part. So it's like, oh man. But in so many words, and this is of course wrapping up our interview, is where can we find your if you don't mind, your books and and
Sure.
and so forth, and how can they link up? Because I do know on TikTok your name is
Mhm.
Brian the Writer.
Yeah, that's one of them. I have two pages. The
Okay.
author, or Brian Simpson, author, and
Okay.
Brian the writer. You can
Okay.
find me anyway. I did Brian the writer kind of as a backup. I was gonna, start talking more about books on that one, but author, my Brian Simpson author page, that's I got like 14,000 people on there, and so
Wow.
so I'm on that one more.
Okay.
But you can find my books at theauthorbriansimpson.com.
Okay.
But I'm also with major retailers. You can find me with I'm on Amazon as well as in Barnes and Noble. I had one of my readers tell me they purchased my book in Walmart, which was like, really?
Wow.
So
Wow.
so
That's
yeah,
a
but the
blessing.
yeah, big time. But Town Secrets, this is the first one. This kind of introduces you to
Okay.
Alex Archer.
Okay.
I have another. This is the second release of this book. I
Wow.
released it first through a publishing company that I didn't like, and so
Mm.
when my time was up with them, I said no, I'll just do it on my own. And
Okay.
so when you see Town Secrets, that's the cover that you
I'm looking
purchase,
for. Okay.
and the Nightmare's Edge
Okay.
is the follow up to Town Secrets. It kind of picks up about a year after that one left off, and
Okay.
the third one should be out.
Okay.
'Cause this one, I'll just tell you, it kind of leaves you on a cliffhanger,
Oh
and
my
so
goodness.
yeah, it's kind of a cliffhanger, and
Oh wow.
so I'm finishing that one. Like I said, the series, the follow up to the Nightmare's Edge. I'm about a week to 2 weeks from finishing that. Then I send it to getting edited, and then the work of actually putting the book together
Wow.
takes place.
Wow. Um, like I said, of course, if you don't mind sharing with me the titles
Mhm.
and the link, and
Mhm.
we'll go from there, like I said, because I am excited to share what God has graced you with, and also take the advice. I'm taking the advice of yourself, and I am so grateful that you came on the show to tell your personal story, but as well
Thank you.
as what you know God has gifted you to share just worldwide. Because your book, I know, is hidden. Is it also on what is that, Kindle or like ebook or
Mhm.
whatever? Okay.
Yes, you
Okay.
can buy my Amazon Kindle as well.
Okay, awesome, awesome. See, that's me. I'm a Kindle. Yeah,
Yeah,
that part.
I'm going to be doing audiobooks for these as well. So
Okay, that is
yeah,
awesome. See, I'm excited for you. Congratulations,
thank
congratulations
you.
in advance before
Thank
you
you.
release it, because by the time you release it, we'll be like, there it goes the new release. Okay. And I'm excited. So please let us know when you've released it. And of course, I'll
Thank
be
you.
more than happy to share and, tag. And of course, Courageous Talk is connected through Instagram, TikTok, and through my personal page, as well as I do have a page called Courageous Talk as well. So, are you on Instagram? That's what I meant to ask.
Yeah, I am. I'm just I'm hardly ever on Instagram. I'm more on TikTok, but
Okay.
I do have an Instagram page. I think it's the author Brian Simpson,
Okay.
and you can find me there. But I need to get more active on Instagram. Everyone keeps telling me that, but I just don't. I get such traction on my TikTok posts that I spend more time over there.
Gotcha.
So, but
Gotcha.
Instagram, they say that's just where it is. But I don't know.
Yeah.
I will.
I'm not saying a word. And also, please tell Stacy thank you for letting us borrow you for this moment, and give her our love. Give
Will
your
do.
gentlemen, your young men, our love, and just say thank you for letting us grab you for this moment to share your testimony, your story, because I believe that people that have been wounded, they need to know that hey, there's still room and space for growth and to move forward. And I loved what you said at the beginning, where as you told your story, that you were trying to just make sure that you have Brian solid.
Mhm.
and
Right.
um and I think a lot of times people miss out on that solidity, or that healing, or whatever that is needed, because we jump I've seen people over time jump out of relationships, and they get out of one and they go straight to another one. Well, this one did me wrong, I'll
Mhm.
go straight into another one, and they constantly bleed instead of heal. And I know
Right.
everybody's scenario or situation is not the same, but sometimes in our profession we bleed, and we bleed on our friends, and it
Mhm.
might not even have anything to do with a friend. It could be something personal that triggered those issues because we
Mhm.
never got healed. And so we
Right.
target people, and we start categorizing people um according to pain instead of healing and becoming whole. And like you said, finding self, and targeting, like, this is me. I'm going to be the better version of me, but let me have that balance. Let me put Christ even in this portion of my life, and all
Right.
areas of our life. And a lot of people have their opinion about it. I'm not throwing religion, but truth be told, if it's not Christ centered and that balance, you're
Mhm.
more than likely not going to be able to be stable in the mind, maybe not even stable in what you do. You may not even be able to be as productive as you want to be or
Right.
need to be. And that spoke loud to me. So I want to say I got a lot out of this interview, and you're such a blessing. And I just continue to speak blessings over you, not just because you're my brother,
Thank you.
but because of what God has graced you to do in this season. May God continue to multiply the works of your hand as well as Stacy's hand as y'all work together, and continue to build, your lives together on your journey.
Thank you.
So I love you guys,
Thank you so
and
much.
blessings to you guys. And thank you so much, Brian, for coming to our show. And to you, the audience, we want to say thank you so much for tuning in. And I pray that you got something out of his testimony. If not, as far as him being an author and sharing with us the reality of what we may need to do. I mean, the best place to do is invest in yourself, especially when God has gifted you with such gifts. But also, God will multiply the work of your hands as you become obedient in that case. But once again, we are excited for his new release. And of course, at the beginning of the show, prior to Brian coming on, I shared with y'all of the releases of various artists, and there are more to come. But we want y'all to stay tuned after this to see what God is doing, and as well link up in YouTube and check out all the links that Brian has shared with us so that you can get your copy to invest in such a great book, or books should I say, as well as into his ministry, because he is an asset in so many ways, and especially when it's aiming at what we are dealing with in the current times. You don't want to turn a blind side to what's real, but we want to be educated. All right. So until next time, we'll see you on the next show. All right. Take care. Bye bye.